Hi, my name is John McLuckie and I'm a very blessed level 3 QHHT practitioner, and I just want to talk about one client that I had because it was just so fascinating. And it was fascinating because there was a couple of things that happened during it. Now this particular lady, she had stomach problems, and she tried a lot of different remedies, a lot of different modalities, and the problem would sort of just fade away into the distance for maybe a couple of days, but it'll come back, and then she'll try something else and it'll fade away, but it'll come back, and it was just gnawing at her, and she wanted to get right to the bottom, get to the core of what it actually is. And this is why we love QHHT so much, because it really unlocks what's the true root cause of problems that are going on in the body. And in her particular session, it was so much fun because while under hypnosis, she went straight to source, or straight to the universal knowledge or the collective consciousness, and they were very much aware of her. And so I actually asked them if they knew anything that was going on. And Dolores Cannon always talks to them as they, because it's the collective consciousness. And so they showed her a past life of, it wasn't that long ago, maybe 100, maybe 150 years ago, and she was actually an old woman. And in that life, she was actually a free spirit. Now, back in those days, women had pretty much no rights. They didn't work. They weren't very educated, because the males in that one were the educated back in those days. The females were just expected what to do with them from society's pressure, and she was very much a free spirit. And her family wanted her to get married to this particular man. It was all arranged, and she said no, she stuck to her guns. But part of her felt really, really, really guilty about feeling so different, and she lived out her whole life, and that guilt just churned and churned and churned within her, in her stomach, and she died with that guilt. And what happened was that guilt was triggered off in this current life, because she was made to feel guilty as a child because of things that happened in her childhood. It was the same guilt. It just reformed again, and it sunk into the roots. So what the collective consciousness did was they actually got the old lady to see her perspective on, actually she was so strong within herself that there was no reason to feel guilty. So she had completely manifested the guilt that she died with herself, and there was no reason to. And then so what happened was we actually talked to the guilt itself that was within her stomach, because that was causing all the stomach problems in there. And the guilt said that it was pouring its roots into all of her system. It was going into her organs, and it was really there. And it had no idea why it was doing it. But it said that I have to punish myself. Now there's a saying, guilt will always look for punishment, and punishment will always look for pain. So it's creating pain somewhere. So that was the deep, deep, deep core problem that she was feeling in her stomach. It was guilt. It was stored guilt in her soul. So what happened was the collective consciousness started talking to the guilt, and the guilt wasn't even realizing what it was doing, or it wasn't realizing that it was safe to go somewhere else. So it actually lifted up, and it felt safe to leave her body, and it got stored and it got transmuted into the collective consciousness, or into source. So it was relieved, and it was so relieved to go. It was such a beautiful, beautiful session, and she could feel it just lifting and just going, because it understood where it came from, and it understood that it could be safe to be released and to let go and to be transmuted into beautiful energy. Now, the second reason why this was such a beautiful session was she saw another past life of her as a man, and the man got beaten to death, basically. He was trying to just talk to a woman, and it was a miscommunication, basically, and her boyfriend or husband got jealous, so sent a mob there, and they kicked him to death, basically. And he was really, really resentful over what happened, because he didn't do anything wrong. It was just a circumstance. So he sort of got up, and he was resenting people because nobody came to help him. Everybody was just watching, and they just left him to die, basically. So what happened, it was so beautiful, because in her consciousness, she actually drifted down, and she was comforting the man, and she was holding his hand, which was her in a past life, and he comforted her. She comforted him while he was passing, and he looked up at her, and he was asking if she was an angel, which was just so beautiful. And he died peacefully, because she was there, because he didn't want to die alone, but he died in comfort, and he thought that she was an angel. She didn't say anything, but it got me to thinking, maybe on people's deathbeds, because they do see angels, maybe it's them in a future life. Who knows? It's a little bit of mind candy, but I have had, and I've done a video on a lady, and she's very much her own spirit guide. There's another aspect of her having a parallel life, and she's her own, very own spirit guide. So it's just something to ponder. But it was such a beautiful session that I thought I'd share it, because guilt always looks for punishment, and punishment causes pain. So people are punishing themselves all the time for feeling guilty about something, and it's usually got nothing to do with them. Usually it's a way to control people. The parents use it very, very well. The church uses it extremely well, and it's a very manipulating way to control people, is to make them feel guilty for doing something that they don't want to do, so they'll punish themselves. A very easy way to know if somebody has been made to feel guilty their whole life is because they'll walk around and they'll say sorry about anything that they do. They'll say, sorry, oh, I'm so sorry, oh, I'm so sorry. If they're 10 seconds late, oh, I'm so sorry. So that's a really good indication, real good way to know if somebody's been brought up feeling guilty their life. So thank you so much for watching, and if you're interested in having a QHHT session, because some people don't know what's causing problems in their body, or what's stopping them in life, or what's blocking them, and a QHHT session is a perfect way to find out. So if you are interested, feel free to contact me. If you have any questions, feel free to jump on the website and send me an email, and I'm happy to answer any questions or help out as much as I can. So thanks for listening.